Good morning. I am Dan Vortherms, CEO of OpenCape Corporation, and I'll be joined up here in a few minutes by Chuck Wade from Interisle, who's going to give a little bit of a update or background on the survey he did of all the IT assets within Barnstable County, all the towns and schools. And then Alan Davis from CapeNet, giving an update on CapeNet's use of the OpenCape network. But first we'll start out with my update from OpenCape. If you take a look at the broadband statistics of the U.S., comparing it against the rest of the world, the numbers are really not all that flattering, especially in the areas of cost, where we're supposed to be one of the most innovative countries in the world, but our cost structure doesn't seem to match that. Susan Crawford was the Special Assistant to the President for Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy in 2009, and in her recent book, Captive Audience, she was particularly critical of the lack of competition in the wired broadband space in the U.S. Without competition, there really isn't a drive for innovation, competition in the marketplace. So it's really, I think, a very distinct point to make about the importance of competition in the broadband environment. A number of people in the southeastern Massachusetts area recognized this early on. They couldn't get the services they wanted for their organizations. They were trying to look to the future, see how they were going to expand services and product offerings. I won't try to name all the specific individuals because I'll probably forget somebody, but it included people from organizations like Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, world-renowned environments. It included Cape Cod Community College, included the Cape Cod Technology Council, included a number of people from just the local population, thought they needed additional broadband capabilities. So I get to be the person up here as we bring this network into fruition, but I'd really like to thank those individuals who had that forethought early on, the initiative and drive to put together OpenCape as you know it today. And additionally, the support of all the elected officials who brought this together, both at the local, the state, and the federal level. I think everybody's pretty familiar with the OpenCape network map these days. It still remains pretty much as it always has been. Once it's completed, we'll have access to about 390 miles of fiber. 311 of those are new route miles that we're building with the grant, and almost 100 miles of microwave. And the microwave serves an important aspect of the network in being the primary connection to Martha's Vineyard, and also as a backup connection from Provincetown down to Orleans, where we've only got a single run of fiber. Given the exposed nature of that area, the microwave provides an important backup. In addition to that, in the middle of the Cape area in Barnstable, we have our co-location center. The backbone status is that construction is complete. After substantial delays in make-ready work from utility companies, the age of some of the infrastructure out here, fiber delays, or I should say make-ready delays from the hurricanes, snowstorms, various nor'easters, we've completed the backbone construction work. DWDM, which is the wavelength service that's the fundamental layer of the network, has been operating across some section of the network since April. On the laterals, we've got about 60% of the laterals complete through construction, continuing working on the rest of those, and there's some additional laterals that we will be squeaking in under the grant budget that we'll be starting on shortly. The microwave network is making its way through all the permitting processes required in the 15 towns. We've got some construction permits in hand, so that will be completed during the summer as well. The regional data center is currently supporting the wavelength services with the optronic equipment we have placed there. All the data center racks, UPS, and cooling systems are installed. We're waiting on a final power upgrade from NSTAR. They've run cables up the hill, but they haven't hooked us up to the grid yet. So as soon as that's up, we'll bring in crews and start commissioning the data center. And that work will start, the commissioning aspect will start in the middle of June. NSTAR's been working on a power upgrade for months now, and I think we can say they're actually getting close to completing it now. The network configuration, initially from the backbone perspective, is what's shown on the slide here. It'll consist of a 40 gigabit per second ring around the Cape between all the central office locations that we connect into, and then 20 gigabit per second connections between the remaining central offices and also from Provincetown down to Orleans. For connections off Cape from both Barnstable and Katomet, there would be 100 gigabit per second connections to where we meet up with the internet and the rest of the world in Brockton and Providence. Additionally, not shown on this slide will be a number of 1 gigabit per second and 10 gigabit per second service rings that customers will connect to, be they town entities or commercial entities. There were some comments made back in November in one of the local papers that this network would be obsolete the day it was built. And that's just simply not true. The technologies used in this network are the same technology used by every major fiber operator in the country today, including the one you read about most often, Google Fiber. We can continue to expand the network both by lighting up additional fiber, increasing the capacity on individual ports on the fiber that we have today, going from 1 gig to 10 gig, for example. And research efforts in some universities around the world are showing methodologies to increase the speed by an additional factor of 200 in the future. So we have virtually an unlimited resource here from a broadband perspective on our middle mile network. One key aspect of the network is the municipal regional area network concept. The ability to connect all of the town entities together that are going to be connected to the network, towns, schools, libraries, county offices as well. Because we're going to separate these connections out on multiple rings, basically it amounts to a 14 gigabit per second capacity to connect all these entities together. Martha's Vineyard will be connecting in with a 1.2 gig microwave connection, and we'll have a lease connection to bring Nantucket into this environment as well. Additionally, there's a shared 1 gigabit connection that we've got available at no additional operational cost to the network in Providence. We'll be putting in place a virtual machine SAN environment for schools and municipal use. Looking at data center space will be dedicated to the towns as well as commercial service. We're refining the management model right now, including how we're going to present data to a steering committee. So as new services are brought on play, that there'll be some oversight in how they're done so we can maintain the integrity of the network, maintain the speeds that are required, and grow it as necessary. So what does this fundamentally mean? If you think back in the days of dial-up, and I think we can, most of us anyway in the room can remember back in those days, to download a 3 meg MP3 file on a 56K connection would take about a minute if you had a really good connection and the server was unloaded and your computer was clean. With a 1 gig connection, you do that in a sub-second environment. Take a look at how this might be used from an educational perspective. You can download a high-definition film in about a couple of seconds, or support streaming of several hundred high-speed definition videos at the same time. So it's really a critical aspect that really improves services that can be offered by the government and the school entities. With a data center in the middle, the shared applications and resources, again, are pretty much unlimited or limited only by the imagination of those who want to use the network. The high-speed direct connection between entities is a real key aspect of this network. There's some additional educational opportunities you'll hear about later today, but what we also have is a connection to Internet 2 available to us as well. The collaboration between schools at the advanced education level down into the high school level, the STEM programs that are being considered on the Cape, there's a wide open environment here to bring additional resources, capabilities, new educational schemes through the network. The connections themselves also provided additional reliability aspect of public safety communications. Specifically having been on the 3-a-day calls during the snowstorm with the County Regional Emergency Planning Committee. There's a lot of things we want to do to improve those kind of environments when there is a disaster ongoing, improve communications, make sure everybody knows what's going on. We're specifically connecting all the shelters together. So there's a real key aspect there in that type of a disaster recovery scenario on the network. I want to spend a little bit of time about this regional umbrella services concept, though. I've mentioned it just generically with the shared applications and stuff that may reside in the network. But one concept here is that anybody can present one of these regional umbrella services to the towns, the schools on this network. The county may be looking at some with the e-permitting application, GIS services they want to offer, our VM SAN environment. But OpenCape may provide some of those, CapeNet may provide some of those, And the community may provide some of those. Any entrepreneur who has some application that may reside in our data center and targeted toward the towns, we're not going to be the only solution provider for that. So this is an opportunity for entrepreneurs to take a look at this environment and see what additional services can be brought to the communities. One question that keeps coming up all the time is what's OpenCape going to do after the construction is complete, because we're nearing that environment today. So the OpenCape mission is to serve as a catalyst for improving government efficiency, research, education, healthcare delivery, public safety, and community and economic development. So we do have an ongoing mission and an active one, not just sitting back watching the network as it goes on. Post-grant, we'll be looking at additional things that we have to do just to keep the network up and running. As the owner of the network, we have the obligation to pay the ongoing operating costs of the network. We have the federal financial obligation to fulfill as well. The federal government maintains an interest in the network, so OpenCape will be overseeing that. We'll want to make sure the network is performing the way it should be. CapeNet as our operator has their hands on the dial, and we'll be watching, looking at all the progress reports, looking at performance reports, making sure the network performs as it's been designed and as it's supposed to, and continue to grow it as it needs to. The continued growth is a key aspect. You know, we pass a lot of locations on the Cape here, and we pass a lot of locations off the Cape. So looking to see where we continue to reach off the network, build some additional connections, make some additional partnerships. It's going to be a very wide open field in the next couple of years as the network comes up, just to see how we can make those additional services available. The network is really just the beginning, you know, getting the network built. It is those additional collaborations that will show how the network can be used to continue to improve the area, increase jobs, increase economic development. It is an extraordinary asset from a number of different perspectives. Physically, the capacity it represents with the additional fibers we have and the continued growth in the optronics, virtually, again, unlimited capacity on the network. The ownership is unique in the fact that OpenCape is a 501c3. So we give back to the community because of that nonprofit status. It's also controlled by a local board. It's not where the decisions are made somewhere in a different town and you never know exactly what's going to happen. Everything is decided locally here with the best interests of the communities involved. And it's also because of the federal funding and open access network. Any entity can come in and get capacity on the network. Not free, of course, but it's an open access network, so you can't say no to any incumbent who wants to come in or anybody else who wants to come in and offer telecommunications service. So again, that presents a wider opportunity for future growth on the network. So it really is a key strategic capability, a key strategic asset for the region, and it's going to take a lot of collaboration to figure out how best to use it, and we look forward to that in the future. Now Chuck Wade will come up with some of the results of his survey.